November 29th, 1944. The dark waters south of Japan. A huge shadow moves quietly beneath the surface. 70,000 tons of steel gliding through the night. It's the Shinano, the largest aircraft carrier ever built, 872 feet long. A ship Japan believed was truly unsinkable. But below her, hidden in the depths, is one American submarine, the USS Archerfish, waiting in silence for the perfect moment to strike. Neither crew knows it yet, but in just a few minutes, history will be rewritten. This is the story of how the world's biggest aircraft carrier was destroyed before she ever saw combat, and how patience, silence, and precision triumphed over pride and overconfidence. After the Battle of Midway, Japan's naval power was shattered, 4 carriers lost in a single day. To rebuild its strength and pride, Japanese admirals turned to a new symbol of hope. Shinano. Originally designed as the 3rd Yamato-class battleship, she was secretly converted into a massive support carrier, meant to carry planes, fuel, and repair equipment for other ships. Her armor was thicker than any carrier ever built, and engineers claimed she could survive a dozen torpedo hits. To the Imperial Navy, Shinano wasn't just another ship. She was proof that Japanese engineering could still change the course of the war. But that confidence was built on arrogance. Every part of her construction carried the assumption that sheer size and armor would guarantee victory. By late 1944, Japan was losing the war. American bombers were striking the homeland almost daily, and fuel shortages crippled the fleet. Still, Shinano was treated as a ship that could not fail. At Yokosuka Naval Yard, workers labored day and night under blackout conditions. The smell of new steel and paint still filled her decks when the order came. She had to sail. She wasn't ready, and everyone knew it. Hundreds of pipes were unfinished. Bulkheads were incomplete, and many watertight doors hadn't even been tested. But higher command insisted she must leave port immediately. At 6 p.m. on November 28, 1944, Shinano slipped quietly out of Yokosuka harbor under the cover of night. Her destination, Kura Naval Base, where she would complete her construction and receive her air wing. Only a third of her trained crew was on board. The rest were new recruits, yard workers, and mechanics still installing equipment as the ship moved south. 3 destroyers, Isokaze, Hamakaze, and Yukikaze, followed as escorts, unaware that American submarines were already hunting along the Japanese coast. On paper, Shinano could survive multiple torpedo hits. In reality, she could barely handle a high-speed turn. She was the biggest moving target in the Pacific, and she had just sailed into enemy waters. That same night, the USS Archerfish was patrolling the sea south of Tokyo Bay. For Commander Joseph Enright, this patrol was personal redemption. He had once missed an attack opportunity because of hesitation. Now, as the war neared its end, he wanted to make it count. Just after 8:10 p.m., Archerfish's radar picked up a faint but massive contact, fast-moving and zigzagging at 20 knots. Enright brought the submarine to periscope depth. Through the dim moonlight, he saw an enormous dark shape, too large for a cruiser, too fast for a transport. He had never seen anything like it. He reported the sighting to headquarters, but received no response, so he made his own decision. Shadow the target all night. For 6 tense hours, the submarine followed the giant ship, matching her course and speed. Every few minutes, Enright raised the periscope for a glimpse of the shadow sliding across the horizon, destroyers weaving behind it. Inside the cramped control room, the air was thick with heat and diesel fumes. The crew whispered updates, waiting for their chance. Finally, around 3:01 a.m., Shinano made a turn that exposed her right side. It was the moment Enright had been waiting for. "Stand by tubes 1 through 6, he ordered. The crew held their breath. Fire! 6 torpedoes shot out into the dark water. 45 seconds later, 4 powerful explosions thundered beneath the waves. The submarine shook with the echoes. Then, silence. Enright dove deep to avoid a counterattack, but no depth charges came. No destroyers followed. Only the dull, distant rumble of secondary blasts could be heard. They didn't know it yet, but they had just sunk the largest warship ever destroyed by a submarine. Aboard Shinano, chaos spread. 4 torpedoes had struck below the armored belt, flooding 3 boiler rooms and several storage compartments. Power failed, pumps broke, and lights flickered. Officers rushed to damage control, but many areas had no communication lines. Orders had to be passed by hand. Captain Toshio Abe, a capable officer, but new to the ship, believed she could survive. He ordered full speed ahead to reach shallow waters. But that only made things worse. Unsealed bulkheads allowed water to rush from one section to another. Within 30 minutes, the ship was leaning 5 degrees to starboard. Damage control teams tried everything. Wooden plugs, mattresses, even wrenches to stop the leaks. Pumps failed again and again. By 5 a.m., the list had grown to 10 degrees. Officers reassured the crew that the carrier was safe, but it wasn't. At dawn, the situation was hopeless. Fuel, oil, and seawater filled the lower decks. Boiler rooms were abandoned. The ship slowed to 10 knots, then stopped. At 7 a.m., Shinano was dead in the water, listing 15 degrees. Crewmen gathered on deck, waiting for orders to abandon ship. Captain Abe refused. He still believed the ship's armor would hold. He ordered the destroyers to tow her toward the coast, but the cables snapped almost instantly. By 9 a.m., the tilt had reached 20 degrees. Sailors began jumping into the sea. Others were trapped below as water poured in faster than they could escape. At 10:18 a.m., Shinano leaned past 30 degrees. Abe finally gave the order. All hands, abandon ship. But it was too late. At 10:57 a.m., the massive carrier rolled over completely, her enormous hull sliding beneath the waves, stern first. In seconds, she was gone. Out of about 2,400 people aboard, only 180 survived. Captain Abe went down with his ship. For the Imperial Navy, it was a devastating loss. The largest warship ever sunk by a submarine, gone after just 17 hours at sea. In Tokyo, the news was immediately silenced. The Navy hid all reports, and survivors were ordered not to speak under threat of punishment. The public didn't even know Shinano existed until after the war. At first, American analysts doubted Archerfish's claim. They thought no submarine could sink a ship that size. Only after Japan's surrender did captured records confirm it. Archerfish had sunk Shinano. Commander Enright received the Navy Cross, and his crew was awarded a Presidential Unit Citation, one of the greatest submarine victories in history. But beyond medals and numbers, the event meant something deeper. It marked the end of an era when nations believed that armor and size alone could guarantee strength. Shinano proved that training, precision, and smart technology mattered far more than raw power. In the new age of naval warfare, submarines and aircraft replaced battleships as rulers of the sea. Years later, Enright reflected on that night. She was the biggest ship ever sunk by a submarine, he said, and we never even knew her name until after the war. No photographs of Shinano at sea survive. No record of battle, no victories, only a few rusting blueprints and the memories of those who built and lost her. She was meant to restore pride, but instead became a reminder of how overconfidence can destroy even the mightiest creation. In the end, it wasn't fire or fury that ended her story. It was silence. A single submarine, guided by patience and discipline, erased 4 years of Japanese ambition in one night. And as the sea closed over Shinano, it closed over the age of the supership itself.